there. In case we haven't met, my name is Brenda Abdilla. I am a PCC executive coach. 95% of the people I work with are leaders, high-level leaders who have teams. What I wanted to talk to you about today was something that I use every day in my coaching practice, and that is called solution-focused coaching. And it's something very simple that can transform your leadership and your relationship, your engagement, your results with your team. Okay, so here's how solution-focused coaching works. It's based on the concept that if you try to solve problems for your team, which is how you got to be your level, right? Because you're a fantastic problem solver. But if you try to solve problems for people in your conversations with them, in your coaching with them, they're likely to continue to just use your brain and not their brain. And what we all know about humans is they will act on behaviors, act on ideas that they come up with, not so much the ones that you come up with. So if you're a little frustrated with results, performance, follow through, that kind of thing with your team, solution-focused coaching might be the answer. So there are probably 10 different ways that we use solution-focused coaching, but I'm going to show you 3 really quick. The easiest one, the one I use probably 5 times a week, is called scaling. So this is predicated on the fact that you're going to ask questions rather than brainstorm and give your team ideas or hold them accountable. Instead, you're going to ask really good questions. One of the questions that you can ask is, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being terrible, 10 being perfect, how do you feel X, right? How do you feel you did with that presentation? How do you feel your deck is prepared for tomorrow's meeting? How do you feel you did last month? And then the person answers whatever score they give themselves, a 5 or a 7. Then the key question is, why a 7 and not a 1? What's going well? What do you feel you did well? What do you feel went great? And then you let them expand on that. And that tells you kind of where they think they are. It may be dramatically different from where you think they are. So once they give their number, then the simple question is, where do you want to be? And hopefully they say a 9 or a 10. How do you think you might want to get there? So now they're coming up with ideas. A little tip. So if you're their manager and you feel they were at a 4 and they rate themselves a 7, once you take them through that little mini process, you can say, I'm glad we discussed it. I'm glad that you told me that you're at a 7 and we came up for ideas on how to get you to a 10. I scored you differently. May I share why I scored you differently and where I think there could be some gap? So that way they've had their chance, but you also have your chance to raise their standard, right? Because maybe their standard isn't high enough. The second little strategy, which could be part of the scaling, is incremental change. I know that especially in the USA, we are obsessed with BHAGs, right? Big, hairy, audacious goals. That is actually completely contrary to brain science. You can Google it. Incremental change, incremental habit change is really the key to anything. So the questions you want to be asking your person is, not how can you make 100 calls a day, but what will you do in the next week or 2 with 100% certainty? And so you're saying to your team member, I want you to pick small. I want you to pick something that you will 100% follow through with. And then let's talk about it in a week. You will be so surprised how much that works. And it works in your own life. If you have a nasty habit that you're trying to address, forget the giant aspirations and instead do something small change that you will follow through with 100% certainty. The third one, and obviously we're not using these all at once, we're picking one. The third one, especially if your your team member or your person that you're leading has kind of lost their inspiration, is called future focus. And so with that, you're asking them some big questions like, why did you take this role? What was your greatest hope for this role? If in 5 years you were phenomenally successful in this role, what would that even look like? And then let them answer. This is not a brainstorm. This is where you're kind of feeding the flame of their inspiration. And then you can ask what, as they're describing what it looks like, why would that be a good thing for you? Why do you want that? And then be careful not to get to the detail of, well, how are you going to do that? How are you going to hold yourself accountable? Which is very tempting. It's better to kind of let that inspiration simmer and see if they come up with some of their own ideas. I hope you'll incorporate some of this. I love hearing about it when you do, and I hope this was helpful. Have a great week.